Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om, salutations to all and welcome to the monthly satsang that we have been having. So as many of you know, whoever has questions, you raise the hand with the hand icon which is there, and then we will unmute one by one. You can ask. Yes, Shubhangi ji. You can unmute.
Hari Om Swamiji, Pranam. Can you hear me, Swamiji?
I can hear you.
Yeah. So I have 4 questions. Can I ask 4 questions, Swamiji?
One after the other.
Yes, Swamiji.
First finish 2 and then we'll come back for the next 2.
Okay, Swamiji.
Yeah.
So my first question is, what is the difference between this bhoktrutva and pramoda? Basically, we are confused so far as our AVC evaluation is concerned, and we wanted to know the thrill of becoming a Nobel laureate should come under Vijnanamaya Kosha if we apply that theory of doer and enjoyership, kartrutva and bhoktrutva. It should not come under then pramoda, the thrill of, when we attain, when we enjoy the object after perceiving and possessing. So what is the difference between these two? We are unable to understand.
So we have to understand the concept first. Question answer or that evaluation will be from a specific standpoint to answer to evaluate a specific understanding. So bhoktrutva and pramoda need not be exclusive. So what is bhoktrutva? When there is any action which is done with a karta bhav, the karma phala, when it comes, the enjoyer enjoys it with the feeling that I am the enjoyer, I am enjoying it, or I am facing the result, I am going through it, and revels in it, or is disgusted with it. Either it can be, or goes through it with equanimity also, whichever way it is. That attitude of I am a bhokta, that is called bhoktrutva. Now, as a part of that bhoktrutva itself, there can be 3 stages, which we call as the Anandamaya Kosha. So this Priya, Moda and Pramoda are Anandamaya Kosha. Expressions of Anandamaya Kosha in the waking state. Otherwise, we experience exclusively Anandamaya Kosha in the deep sleep state. But in the waking state, it is Priya, Moda and Pramoda. So Priya is when I just imagine the object and I brood and I derive pleasure by imagination. Then Moda is when I have a possibility of getting it. And Pramoda is when I actually get it and I am enjoying it. So the levels of joy are different. And just to make us understand, it is said Priya, Moda and Pramoda. Now, all the 3 are a part of bhoktrutva. Not that only pramoda is a part of bhoktrutva. So now that example of the joy of getting a Nobel laureate, it is both. So it is a bhoktrutva. So if one is feeling that I have done the research or I have done whatever my the work in my field, and then I am being awarded for that, one feels very thrilled about it, and there is bhoktrutva. And then if one has been brooding about it, then we can classify If somebody has been working with that mindset, "Yeah, I need that Nobel laureate. When I get it, it will be so good." And so that joy, when the person imagines, then that is more priya. Then when there's a possibility that people say, "Okay, you're, you are being considered," and whatever documentation, verification, all that process is on, then there is moda. And then when one actually gets it, then that is pramoda. So
but
bhoktritva and pramoda, all they are included. Priya moda, pramoda included as a part of bhoktritva.
so we can either mark it in Vijnanamaya Kosha or Anandamaya Kosha, right?
You can mark it in whichever one, either ways. From technical standpoint, that is correct. But if in the course there is a specific example which has been given in a specific context in the material, and then on that it is being evaluated, then you should stick to that part.
So then here this thrill word was used. So on that basis, if we mark it as pramoda, then it is correct basically, and not as a Vijnanamaya Kosha we should mark it. I feel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Swamiji, my next question is related to, with reference to this definition of Atma. That is Stula Sukshma Karan Sharirat Vyatiriktah Panchakoshatitah San Avasthatraya Sakshi Satchidananda Swarupaswan Yas Tishyati Iti Atma. So with reference to this definition, Swamiji, I while doing my sadhana, I keep chanting Nirvanashtakam or Shri Bhavanyashtakam, Na Tato, Na Mata, Na Bandhur, Na Tata. So while chanting these stotras, I can understand that now that this is predominantly Atad Vyavritti Lakshan is being used here. And of course, negation as well as assertion is also there, like the last line of these compositions by Jagadguru. So my question is, Swami, related to this definition that do we have, for my understanding, do we have any such compositions by Jagadguru Adi Shankaracharya where I can see the Tatastha Lakshan being predominantly used? I wanted to know any such compositions, Swamiji.
See, the compositions will not be from the standpoint where Shankaracharya ji says that there are this is will be based on Tatastha Lakshan, this will be based on Swarupa Lakshan. So you will have a combination of all.
Yes.
So now now Brahma Jnanavali, if you take, it will have a lot of Tatastha and Swarupa Lakshan both.
Okay.
Because see, what is Tatastha Lakshan? In association with something, it is being described.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like
yes.
Brahman is the cause of the universe, sustaining force of the universe, dissolver of the universe. So that way,
right.
So you will find now, it is like you will find in this Atma Bodh also, there are some verses.
Okay.
Those verses which say that
but there is no such stotra as such, Swamiji?
No specific stotra only dedicated to Tatastha Lakshana or only for Swarupa Lakshana.
Okay. Fine, Swamiji. So I can ask 2 questions later, right? After.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yes, Malaji.
Hari Om, Swamiji. This is again regarding japa and meditation. So in the guided meditation talks, I like the Asangoham very much. However, I also want to do Sri Ram Jai Ram. So maybe as a part of concentration. But Sri Ram Jai Ram is in duality. And then when it is followed by Asangoham, it is non-dual Vedant. So the flow doesn't seem right. Like in your guided meditation, there is Om followed by Asangoham, which sounds more logical. So nowadays, I sometimes do japa only, and some other days I do that 9.1 meditation. But I actually want to do both in the morning. Can you suggest some way?
See, only a subtle change in the understanding one has to have, because when we say Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, who is that Ram? That Ram is that same consciousness which is Asangoham. There is no difference. Ram is that Satchidananda Swarup Atma. That is what the entire Ramayana and the description of Valmiki Rishi also is. So we have to understand that while doing japa, because our mind needs a certain support, then we are using Sagun Sakar. See, all the three are Brahman. Please remember that. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. So it is Sagun Sakar Brahma. So it is called Sagun Brahma. Omkar is Sagun Nirakar Brahma. No form, but only sound. Technically, if you see, there is no form of Om. One is only supposed to focus on the sound symbol. The chanting of A, U and Ma. And then the silence between the two Oms. So that is Sagun Nirakar Brahma. And then there is Nirgun Nirakar Brahma, which is Asangoham, Asangoham. All the three are Brahman only. So if I have just the little clarity in my thinking that it is same Brahman I am contemplating upon, and essentially that Brahman is me. That's the deeper Vedantic truth, which is what we have to realize. So whether I am doing japa or I am doing contemplation, the ultimate objective is to realize I am not this finite entity, I am that. Duality anyway exists. Even when I'm contemplating Asangoham, Asangoham, duality still exists because there is a duality of contemplator and contemplated upon, that object. So it is anyway there. So in either case, I can go into the non-dual state by absorption. Samadhi will happen through either case. Sagun Sakar also, through Sagun Nirakar also, Nirgun Nirakar also. Because all three are Brahman and essentially all three are my true self. So once I have this clarity, then it will not matter. Whichever mantra you do for japa, that mantra is Bhagwan, is Brahman only. And so there is no difference actually speaking. So then one can do the transition. However, at certain points, if one likes to remain only with the chanting of Om and the Nirgun Nirakar Brahma, one can do that. If one wants to do it through japa also, the transition will then become effortless. Ideally, it is said focus on one mantra, whichever that mantra is. Once you choose that, then stick to that. Because then through that path itself, one will transcend. One doesn't need many. So if Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram is that in which the mind abides, then contemplation is that Ram is that supreme consciousness, which is Asanga, which is the consciousness in me, which is completely unattached. So that understanding, when it is there, then it will happen very smoothly.
Thank you, Swamiji. It sounded very nice, but maybe it is definitely my mental setup. Like when I do Sri Ram, Jai Ram, like, I'm falling at his feet. And then when I'm doing Asangoham, I feel that I'm just as if distancing myself. So yes, I think I'm getting what you're saying. I have to work on my thinking and my whatever. Okay, thank you so much, Swamiji.
Yes, Shamanji. I can't hear you. Can't hear you, Shamanji. Okay, trying to figure out. Okay. Milin.
Hari Om Swamiji. Swamiji, my question is on the state of mind when we progress in the spirituality path. For example, when it is said that when you do meditation and when someone gets samadhi, they transcend mind and buddhi, and they experience that state. They become that Brahman. But it makes sense also that the illuminator cannot be understood by the illuminated objects. But in the day to day, when we are in the waking state, we are using the mind and buddhi. So right now we have an understanding that I am not this body and mind. So that intellectual understanding is there. But that experience of samadhi, will that uh, be available during the waking state, or during the waking state the same intellect will be the only available option, and it will be only experienced during meditation or samadhi?
See, first and foremost, the understanding has to be Brahman is not an experience that comes and goes. Consciousness, illuminator, whatever we call it, is there at all times. Waking, dream, deep sleep, and transcending that samadhi, at all times it is there. Even in the waking state, the feeling that I am, aham, that real I, without adding any other adjectives to that, that is the experience of the same Brahman, unconditioned, unidentified with any of the upadhis. Because we are identified so much with the mind, intellect, body, then we are not able to stay with that aham clearly. So we are not able to see that I am the true self. This is a role. We get fully identified with the role. So the reality is forgotten. So the waking state sadhana then at such times is either to do karma yoga sadhana or to have the sakshi bhav and keep telling oneself and reminding that I am a witness. This is the BMI that is acting. Those sadhanas have to be done. The experience that one goes through in samadhi, definitely experience wise, again I'm saying not Brahman, experience wise of the mind, that experience in waking state is only possible for a realized person, not possible for others, because in samadhi there is complete withdrawal from the body, mind, intellect, senses, everything, and there is total identification with whatever that object is, which is a subject, in other words, whatever the subject is, where is full withdrawal is there. Then in the waking state, the mind is fully engaged. So experience wise, that experience and this cannot be equated. But that state of realization, that state of absorption will definitely reduce a lot of dehatma bhav, the vasana pressure will come down. And hence, in the waking state, the alertness, awareness is much more heightened about who I am in my true nature. Continuous practice of this samadhi, when the dehatma bhav is destroyed, a person gets what we call as atmanishtha, abidance in the self. That is called sahaj samadhi. Savikalpa samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, continuous practice of nirvikalpa samadhi will lead to sahaj samadhi. That sahaj samadhi means abidance in the nature of the self, where this coming out of this body identification and again coming back into body identification, that stops. That is the final abidance. Now that Mahatma, whether that waking is there, dream is there, deep sleep is there, whatever is the situation, there is no difference. That person is experiencing the same thing. There is only Brahman actually for that person. So only for that person it will be same. For others it will not be same, because the one is complete withdrawal, one is full engagement. So while engaging fully, we can do karma yoga attitude, we can do seva, we can have sakshi bhav attitude. Those things can help so that it does not remain as an intellectual information. It also comes down into application.
Okay, so just a follow-up question, Swamiji. So if we continue this practice, how would we know that that bhav is actually coming into the waking experience? Of course that we'll be calm, we'll be more there's no dehatma bhav or possessions or something like that. So is that one reduction of passions, reduction of desires, are those signs that we are getting into that frame of mind?
Yeah, so those are the signs. Level of vairagya is high, equanimity becomes very easy, because the attachments are lesser, desires are lesser, vairagya is very high. And the mind also, earlier if it was taking more time to go into samadhi, it takes now lesser time to go into samadhi. And when one comes out of it, in the waking state also, one has very clear attitude, I am not this. One knows that. Intuitive realization will be very strong. So those are signs. Today, how intuitively we know I am a human being, I am a man, I am a woman. No, it's not a verbal knowledge alone. In that way, intuitively, one will know that I am consciousness. Those are the signs.
Okay, thank you, Swamiji. Hari Om.
Okay, so the question is, why do we not worship Ramji and Sita Mata during Diwali, as it's about welcoming them home with diyas lit so they can find their way home due to Amavasya? We worship Lakshmi ji instead. Why? See, on the Diwali day, we worship Bhagwan Ram and Sita ji only, actually. But Dhanteras is the day when Lakshmi Devi is worshipped, and there are legends associated with that, Puranic legends associated with that. And also in the past, the Vaishya community in a certain part of our country followed the financial calendar from the Diwali to Diwali. So they would worship their books of accounts, and their the Dhanteras day is the day where the new books of accounts will start, and all that would happen. But on the Amavasya day, actually we worship Bhagwan Ram because it is his homecoming. Now, over a period of time, if people have somehow forgotten some traditions, or they have started adding many other things to it, then we need to revive. So Bhagwan Ram is actually what one should worship on that day, Ramji and Sita ji. Especially those who have the bhav of this. One of the reasons why Deepavali celebrated is Bhagwan Ram came back. But there are so many other legends associated with the Deepavali, so people celebrate depending on their bhav and their Ishta Devata also. And of course, some people celebrate as per their convenience. They are not, they don't care about what is the significance, why, how, none of that. Also, last year when Deepavali happened, we had put out certain videos. If you can see those, and so many of them, there is Shraddha which has to be done. There is Bhyanga Snan, then there is applying oil. A lot of things are there. The Ulka Dan is there. The forefathers are shown the way that they go back. There is so much more deeper significance of those 5 days of the Deepavali Utsav. A lot of those things we have forgotten. Now it is more about socializing and going out of town and spending some time with the family and all those things, unfortunately. But otherwise, the Shastra has given very clear instructions. It is a sadhana time for oneself, for the Ishta Devata, worship the Lord, do the Ishta Devata Upasana, do the worship of the Pitrus, do the particular acts associated for them to return to the Pitrulok, because they have come down during the Pitru Paksh, they have come down, now they are returning. So many of those things we have to revive. Yes, Krishna.
Hari Om Swamiji. I have actually 3 questions. They are very short, and I will quickly ask one after another. My first question is, as it is said in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Arjuna asks, mind is so turbulent that I'm paraphrasing it, that it is very difficult to control it. So I'm also personally going through a similar situation where I personally want to do something, whereas the mind just goes on the other way. It is creating a havoc, and to be very frank, my mind itself has turned into my biggest enemy. How can I make it into my biggest friend?
The Gita only has the answer. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. One has to do abhyas, practice single pointedness, and also focus on the positive aspects of the mind, have an inspiring goal, as the third chapter would say, have a noble goal, selfless goal, or a inspiring goal, act as per your own swadharma, live in moderation. So many tips the Gita gives. In the sixth chapter also Bhagavan says yuktahara viharasya. So living in moderation, doing work as per one's own swadharma, expressing, feeling more and more grateful to the Lord, connecting to Bhagavan daily using the mantra or any other, stotram, jap, bhajans, any of those. Through those, mind will slowly come into control. And if there are other issues because of which the mind is disturbed, one has to handle that biologically also. If there are certain challenges, then one may have to take some medicines also for it. So one has to understand it. A general thing can be given, but one's particular condition has to be understood very clearly, and then one has to apply.
Okay, Swamiji, can I ask my second question?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is regarding the sadhana. I made a terrible mistake in sadhana, taking up too many things and confusing it. So I'm in such a situation right now, what to do, what not to do. Can you suggest me some particular sadhanas which our youth in Chinmaya Mission regularly follows?
See, as I said, each one has to choose a sadhana as per their specific temperament. One sadhana in general that scriptures can say, which will help all the youngsters, is chant the Gayatri mantra. But it depends on what one is going through. If there is a psychological challenge, one should consult appropriate, competent people, because in certain situations, the sadhana will not benefit. It may become more difficult for that person. So each one has to find as per their temperament only. And as I have said earlier also many times, I am not competent to advise on the physical challenges or certain mental challenges. If somebody has a serious any mental health challenge, then that competent person only has to be asked. In general, the sadhanas which are given, in that, japa is a good sadhana to do, Gayatri mantra is a good sadhana to do. It will help definitely the mind to become quieter and find something inspiring to serve, a noble cause to go out and serve and feel that I am serving Bhagavan through this and find the joy in that. In general, one can say that, but now you have to find out specifically only from competent people.
Swamiji, I'm taking an advice.
But then you should follow them.
A person from our Chinmaya Vishwa Vidyapeeth Cochin itself, a psychology professor.
Bas, perfect. So you should follow them.
Yes, Swamiji. My final question is, I have already personally discussed a personal issue which I am going through within the family long back. How can I remain? It has reached the pinnacle. How can I stay sthita prajna, where situations are turning turbulent.
See, I cannot give a guidance on this because one is I have no idea what the situation is. Second is, as you are already consulting a competent person, follow their guidance.
Yes.
And they will be able to tell you how to manage. Maybe there are other ways by which you can face it. You don't have to always follow the highest. Sita Prajna is the highest level of the state of realization. There are simpler sadhanas or simpler methods also which one can follow. So best is consult that person, whoever knows in detail, whoever with whom you have ever shared, and take their guidance. That's the best thing to do.
Swamiji, a quick question, just one word. Just one word. How many times as a beginner should I chant Gayatri Mantra?
11 times or 27 times.
Sure. Hari Om, Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Swamiji. Pranams to everyone. Swamiji, as far as I have understood, moksha means going beyond the joys and sorrows, the sukha and the dukkha, while still living in life, in the sense living in equanimity. And also moksha means coming out of the repeated cycles of births and deaths and to merge with God, which means that the soul understands that it should be its last birth. And Swamiji, I also have another question after
Now,
this.
what is the question?
Question is, Swamiji, could you, as per the scriptures, what does moksha mean? Could you elaborate?
See, moksha literally means freedom. Now, there are different levels of freedom. Highest level of understanding is abidance in the self is freedom, where I am freed from the ignorance that I am this body, I am this jiva, and to revel in that state of self, which is my true nature, that is called freedom. Then there are other levels of freedom where one becomes free from the attachments to the senses, one becomes free from raga and dvesha, one becomes free from selfishness. So moksha has different levels. Then there are other levels of moksha which the scriptures will say, where one goes to the world of the Ishtadevata, Salokya Mukti. One is close to the Ishtadevata, Samipya Mukti. One looks like the Ishtadevata, Sarupya Mukti. One becomes one with the Ishtadevata, Sayujya Mukti. So the word moksha has many different connotations, many different levels in the scriptures. We have to figure out what we are seeking and start following that path. That's sadhana.
Okay. And Swamiji, my second question, can I ask?
Yeah.
Swamiji, if someone is able to understand the transition of a soul, progression of a soul from past life to the current life, in a new birth, I mean to say, what is such a study called, and what are such people called, and are you aware of anyone who does such a study?
Sorry, I have no idea about any of these three. Such a study, etc., I don't know. I've only heard there are people who do past life regression. Maybe they are called regression therapists, but I have no other idea whether they know that who is born from which janma in this life, who is that person. I have no idea, so I cannot answer that.
Okay, Swamiji. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Hello, Guruji. I am Subrajyoti Acharji.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Sir, according to Vedanta, sir, consciousness is the ultimate reality. Sir, and the whole multiverse comes from that Atman or consciousness, and Atman also creates it, sustains it, and destroys it. Sir, is that Atman only a metaphysical principle such as sir, zero is a metaphysical principle. Zero is a principle in mathematics, or 1 plus 1 is equals to 2 is a principle in mathematics in which the whole mathematics is developed. Such as if 1 plus 1 is equals to 2, a principle is a principle in mathematics. There can be another principle also which may be much better than it. Or is Atman a self-aware being, all pervading, and it has the power to create, sustain, and destroy. That is my question.
See, Atman definitely is not some kind of just a theoretical concept or metaphysical, whatever concept it is. It is an experiential truth, which is my true nature. Every moment, each one is experiencing aham, aham, aham in their own heart. So it is not a concept. And it is the infinite consciousness. It has all powers to create, sustain, destroy. And that's what the entire science of Vedanta is to explain. That by itself, Atman is infinite, and infinity doesn't produce anything, doesn't modify, doesn't do anything. But we are seeing a creation. So if at all we are seeing a creation, then it is an appearance of that supreme infinite consciousness. Without undergoing any change, it appears as the world. So yes, it is a sentient, aware entity whose nature is awareness. It's not a concept. It is because of that everything else is there. Otherwise, none of the concepts also will exist.
Sir, but sir, such as that Vedanta says that Atman is infinity, so it cannot create, sustain, or destroy. Sir, but Atman is sir, such things sounds like a principle actually, sir. That is why I am asking.
It may sound as a principle, but if one does the sadhana, one can experience, and so many Mahatmas have realized it or not. Are they not saying from their experience? Are they saying because they read the books? They have not read. Some of them have not even read the big scriptures. What did Ramakrishna Paramahamsa read? He practiced sadhana, he realized oneness. Totapuri Maharaj, what he could not do what he took so many years to do, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa did in 3 days. Went from Sagun Sakar to Nirgun Nirakar and beyond in 3 days' time. How is it a principle? It is a realization. And there is nothing greater, there is no greater realization than Atma. There is nothing more closer to us than the Atma. It is the closest. It is our true self. So how it's not a principle. It may have an attribute of being able to create, sustain, destroy. That is a superimposition on the Atma. It is not real. That's an explanation given from our standpoint. But otherwise, it is not, just because it is said that it is the cause of the universe, it doesn't make it a principle. And it cannot be understood intellectually, which is what Vedanta says very, very clearly. Naisha tarkena matirapaneya. How much ever logic one may apply, one will not experience it. One has to put the effort to destroy this body identification, get over this ignorance, then only one will realize.
Sir, another question is, sir, relating to this only. Sir, is Atman itself self-aware? Means it is
There is awareness. There cannot be any other thing that is making Atman self-aware, because then what is that? And from where does that get self-awareness? It is self-luminous entity, Swayam Jyoti it is called. It is Chit Swarup, Chaitanya Swarup. It is consciousness. It does not get it from somewhere else.
Sir, my second question is according to, sir, many people say that from the point of view of Brahman, there is no duality at all. Sir, from the point of view of Brahman. So, sir, when one attains Nirvikalpa Samadhi or means Samadhi, and sir, then how come he write anything such as Upanishads and such as Nisargadatta Maharaj or Ramana Maharshi? Sir, because when you have, sir, because according to Mundak Upanishad, sir, when one realizes Brahman, he becomes Brahman itself. Sir, because if he becomes Brahman, sir, then there will be no duality. But, sir, how the realized being talk? Because, sir, when there is talking, there is I, and sir, then when there is I, there is duality.
Talking. So who is talking? We are seeing Ramana Maharshi talking. We are seeing Nisargadatta Maharaj doing something. You ask from their standpoint, nothing is happening. It is we who are identified at the body level, so we see them as a body. We are identified at the jiva level, so we see them as a jiva. So we think they are talking, they are walking, they are doing all this. You ask them, they are reveling in that state where nothing is happening. The Brahman alone is. There is no world, there is no duality, there is nothing. And that's why I'm saying that is it is more easy, even in the tradition, it is said, the great masters also, they say, it is more easy to describe Brahman, but it's very difficult to describe a Jivan Mukta. Because this confusion that you have is a natural doubt. Because how is this person then doing all these things is a natural doubt. But the standpoint has to be understood. It is from our standpoint, because we are identified at the body level. If we lift ourselves beyond the body level to the higher state, we will realize that nothing is happening. We will realize there's only one Brahman. It's like waking up from the dream, the entire dream gone. What dream? There's nothing. But they are like that person who has realized I am the waker and there is no dream, and yet as though they are appearing inside the dream doing things. That's why confusion happens. So the only way is understand it intellectually very clearly, that from their standpoint, from the real aham standpoint, nothing is happening. From our standpoint, we see them acting. And so the shastra will say that if you see them acting, it is called badhita ahankar. That's a lower level of explanation given for somebody who can't understand this higher level, that there is nothing happening for them and they are not doing anything. So for them, it is said, the shastra will say it is like, it's a badhita ahankar, where it is like a rope which is burnt. That's the example given. Suppose the rope is in the form of a inverted S, let us say. Now, if you burn that rope, if that rope is put on fire, that rope will still remain in the shape of S, but actually there is nothing there. If you try to lift it, there's no rope there. It's all powder. It's finished. There's nothing there. But it gives an appearance of that shape and the rope still. Same way, this is the badhita ahankar, which is roasted, which is burned completely. And so the prarabdha of that Mahatma, whatever was before the, when the person took birth, whatever that prarabdha, till that time, it will go on. The Mahatma is not identified with that. So that ahankar, that is called as badhita ahankar then. So these are two ways to understand it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Srijata Vasudeva.
Hari Om, Swamiji. My question is that regarding this meditation, now Om meditation, I mean, I really enjoyed and I reveled in it when we did under your guidance. So I'm trying to continue it also. But the thing is, here I get stuck that when there is the stage of contemplation. Now, is it better that if I can, as you said on Friday, that we can breathe, we can along with Om, then stop breathing, and then again that is Rechak and Kumbhak that you talked of. So we can. So in that, do I count how many? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I stop my breathing, Kumbhak, and then I stay. And how do I measure my time? That means I have to look at my watch to see how long I am able to stop my breathing. Otherwise, I won't have sense of timing.
No, you don't have to watch. So first of all, this if you are doing this, holding the breath, etc., it should be done only with proper guidance, or it should be done when, if there is no other health issue like a BP or a whatever, cholesterol or any other issue, because holding breath can create challenges. One, if you are up to it and you can do, then do
Yes.
for only short time holding the breath, don't do for long time. So the counting, for that you don't have to see the watch, you have to do mentally if you want to count. So as you breathe, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold the breath, 1, 2, Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, hold the breath, 1, 2. Again. So you can do it that way. There is no specific ratio that I would prescribe. Keep it to simple, deep breathing and hold for a very short time. To get into a rhythm, you may put a count. I am saying 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe you are able to do 1, 2, 3. Or maybe you are able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That depends on each one's individual capacity. But if that helps to keep a track, keep the mind focused, then one can do, and for that one doesn't need to see anything outside. One can just mentally keep a track. Maximum, if you want, count on your fingertips.
And Swamiji, saying Om in my mind, can I do that also along? No.
Definitely,
Yeah.
can be done in the mind. Any mantra can be chanted in the mind.
Om while breathing, then stop also when I'm stopping breathing, then also continuing in my mind silently, and then again throughout.
Yes, so one can do throughout also Om in the mind, or what one does while taking in the breath, one chants Om, then one doesn't do anything in that time when the breath has stopped.
Okay.
When Kumbhak is there, Anta Kumbhak or Bahish Kumbhak, that time one is not chanting anything.
Okay.
That is a state of thoughtless awareness. If one can do that, great. If one feels, no, that is difficult, my mind starts wandering, then chant Om, no problem.
Oh, no, I will do silently. Thank you, Swamiji. Swamiji, I have got two more questions. Can I ask them?
We will come back to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Pranam, Swamiji.
Yes, Shubhangi ji, you can ask your other two questions.
Hari Om Swamiji. I wanted to know, my first question is now, how do I know that I am not indulging in shastra vasana?
How much we are able to, so what is the intention with which we are studying and learning? That is the first point. There can be a general jignasa to know, to gain more knowledge, to understand more comprehensively. So that is one. But why is one doing it? So that with the better understanding, I learn to apply and I learn to go deeper into the sadhana that I'm doing. So that if that is the understanding clearly, and one also starts practicing what one knows to whatever extent possible, then that means I'm using the shastra for the appropriate purpose, to study, to transform, to apply. But if I'm doing it for intellectual argumentation, proving a point to somebody, to win some intellectual debate, to say that, my standpoint is only right and yours is wrong, if that is the motive, then I know that, okay, I'm getting into shastra vasana now. I'm not focused on the sadhana part mainly. So that is what helps to understand.
Okay, my second question is, Swamiji, that now while chanting these various compositions, I mean stotras, I see that there is a falashruti that is being mentioned everywhere. So now what we are learning in Vedanta is to detach from these worldly matters and attach to the higher self. So I am unable to understand that while chanting these compositions, if I have to say Shri Varchasvam Ayushyam Arogyam Avidadar and Dhanyam Dhanam Pashum Bahuputra Labham. So if these things, if I keep chanting, then isn't it contradictory what I am learning, what I am trying to apply in my day-to-day life, and I am in a way indirectly demanding all these things from God. So what was the purpose? I am curious to know what was the purpose of these great spiritual masters. Was it to attract people to do certain bhakti or something? Or, I mean, I'm not able to understand the falashruti part of various compositions, Swamiji.
So we have to understand that everybody is not wanting realization, number one. Though ultimately everyone will discover that each one is at a different level of evolution. So everybody is not wanting realization and only going beyond body, mind, intellect. Point one. Point two, Shri Suktam is chanted for various reasons. Grahasthas will chant because they want Lakshmi, they want the wealth, they need to handle the family with that. Plus, the Grahastha ashram is the base for the other three ashrams. Brahmacharya ashram is supported by Grahasthis. Earlier days, the entire education was free, and those who have completed it, they feel grateful. Then they go back to the Gurukul, give the Guru Dakshina, and support the study of the new people who come there. They are the people, Grahasthis, who give bhiksha to the sannyasis. They are the people who help the vanaprasthis when they retire. So they need wealth. So Shri Suktam is chanted for wealth, to invoke the grace of Mother Lakshmi. And if some seeker is there who sees oneness, that Mother Lakshmi is the absolute supreme consciousness, who is the absolute truth behind this entire creation, even for that person, personally one may not want, but there can be that one may be running an ashram, or one may be wanting it for the betterment of a society, and maybe they may not even chant the Falashruti. If they are only individuals, they may not even chant the Falashruti. And fourth is, everybody wants to know, simplest is, everyone wants to know, how will I benefit if I do this? This is the most fundamental motive for anyone to act in the world. What will I get out of this? What's in it for me? So initially people will chant and they will do bhakti also, which is sakama bhakti. And there is blessings of the Lord which are definitely there, and one will get also. So it will help those people who want these things to connect to Bhagavan. So through this process, at least they are connecting with the divine. So these are different levels because of which the Falashruti is there. Now it depends on the individual's motive, that what I want to use this for, and then appropriately I can use the Falashruti. And also it is a fact that the culture, if it has to be disseminated properly and people have to understand its depth and glory, then Falashruti has to be retained and it should be there, because as I said, not everybody is a seeker of the highest. Those are very few. Majority will want artha, kama and dharma. Seekers of moksha are very less. So for that purpose, if the society has to live in a dharmic way, then these Falashrutis, etc. will help a lot to connect to the divine and to seek the blessings of the Lord, to keep the ego in check, to have the surrender, to have the gratitude that whatever I have is a blessing of Bhagavan. So in that way, this Falashruti has a lot of importance. Vandana ji.
Charan Sparsh, Swamiji, Charan Sparsh. Swamiji, my question is to do with the process in meditation and yoga nidra. So the step before we begin our contemplation, specifically to do with body scan. So what I find for myself is in dharana, I find it easy to focus on the breath flow. But I struggle with visualization in body scan. So I can repeat left arm, right arm. I can focus on the words when it is happening. So my question is, how important it is to visualize that body part? And the fact that I don't enjoy or I can't see the body, is it a sign of a strong body identification, or is it a blockage that I need to consciously work on? And or should I just skip this visualization and just focus on the breath?
Okay, so the body scan is in two different ways. One aspect is feeling that part of the body, whereby we pay attention to that part. So when we say left arm, the mind only has to pay attention to the left arm. So when we say from the shoulder to the fingers, just pay attention to the left arm. That's all has to be done. Same way with the other parts of the body. So that is feeling every part, because when we pay attention to that part, And as we are breathing deeply, whichever part we pay attention to, the energy goes towards that part to relax that part. So this is the feeling part where I actually pay attention to the different parts of the body. And all of us know that in our daily life, what we go through, our thoughts, they will translate onto the body in terms of whatever the hormones are secreted and whatever the tensions, etc., also get accumulated in the body. So there is stiffness, there is rigidity, that's how pain and many things they build up in the body. So this body scan and deep relaxation is meant to release those things, and that will make the body capable of sitting in contemplation for a longer time without getting disturbed, without feeling restlessness. That will help because body comes into a state of relaxation. The second part of the body scan is the visualization, where we say that you go out of your body as though you are watching your own body, like a 60 degree.
Yeah.
That's optional. I may or may not be able to do, that's fine, doesn't matter. But the first one should happen properly. At least in the initial part of one sadhana for meditation, because if one is able to do that, then, as I said, the mind will also become quieter and the body also will not trouble a person. So contemplation will become very steady. Otherwise, our body will keep, some pain is there or some kind of restlessness is there in the body. And then one keeps moving. The more we move, the more our attention comes down to the body level. So it is to remove that.
So,
as
Swami,
one processes in sadhana, then one doesn't need to do that for a longer time. It will happen effortlessly. Just through the breath itself, it will happen.
Swamiji, I've been doing it now for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And the breath is easy, and this feeling or directing the consciousness to right hand, right toe, all that is done. The problem comes in visualizing. The blockage comes in visualizing the body. Like if I have to visualize my body, then that's where I am unable to visualize my body.
So you have to start by doing a simple exercise. So you see the hand and close the eyes and then just imagine the hand here. Again, see the feet, close the eyes, visualize. So that practice has to get done. Why that is important in some ways is to make us aware that it is this body, it is not I. If I am able to have that clarity, intellectually is one clarity, but the mind also needs to feel. Today the mind feels I am this body, and when we do this individual body part scanning, that time also the attention is going on the body part, saying this body from left hand to the left fingers and thighs and the knees and all that. When we go out of the body, or when we are able to visualize the body as this is a body and I am a witness of this body, I am not this body. Visualization is important only for that much, because this is a body. Otherwise, information wise, we know that whatever we call as this is not I, that we know information wise, but sadhana wise we are not experiencing that. For sadhana wise, I is this only, so this has become I has become this. So for that much alone, that visualization is important. And again, I'm saying it is not that without that one cannot realize. If you find that is difficult, does not matter. That step you can skip, focus more on the mantra, etc., and focus more on the contemplation. But ensure that the daily life then we live in such a way that body, the needs of the body are taken care of. The pampering of the body doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. Yeah.
Then that is fine.
Okay. Hari, thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.
Okay, so now these three people who are here, only those three questions. After that, if you have any more, anybody, we take up in the next class. Deepti Bakshi.
Hari Om Swamiji. I have this, after doing this meditation, Om meditation, so far we used to use Om as a one mantra which has been used before any mantra like Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om. So I got a question. When we add this to the name Om Namah Shivaya, Hari Om, how, like, what is the implication? What is the significance now after we know that Om is a infinite Brahman?
So, Omkar is the subtlest mantra in the Vedas. It is the shortest symbol of the Supreme Infinite Consciousness. It is Eka Akshara Brahma. Om iti Ekaksharam Brahma. The entire essence of the Vedic knowledge is in the Gayatri. The essence of Gayatri, 24 syllables, is in the 7 Vyahritis, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. Essence of these 7 is in the 3, Bhur, Bhuva, Suvaha, and the essence of the 3 is in Om. So the whole essence of the Vedic knowledge is in Omkar. Now, when we add to any mantra, and Om is the Om is that single syllable which indicates the absolute in both forms, in its absolute form as the silence and in its immanent form. So transcendental form and immanent form, which is all pervasive. That infinite consciousness which is all pervasive is indicated by Omkar as sound also, and as beyond sound as the transcendental truth. So it is the, we can say, the most perfect indicator of the Supreme. So to any mantra, Om is added. To any, at the end of any task, or when we finish something, then when we say Om, any incompleteness which is there in it gets completed. This is said in the 17th chapter of the Gita. I'm not saying by myself. In the Gita, Bhagavan says so clearly, Om Tat Sat iti nirdeshaha trividha brahmana smritaha. So this either Om or Tat or Sat, or all the three together, Om Tat Sat, it will complete anything that is incomplete. So we add Om to many things. Now, so you gave 2 examples. So one is Om Namah Shivaya. So in the beginning of Namah Shivaya, we add Om, because the Namah Shivaya represents that same reality as Om. And if the mantra by itself has any incompleteness, it will get complete by adding Om. So many shlokas also we add Om. Mantras we add Om. Now the second example you gave is Hari Om. Now Hari Om is ulta. Om is such a powerful mantra that to chant that mantra we need purity of mind. So Hari is added to Om. Om is not added to Hari in this context of Hari Om. Hari is added to Om to say that, by saying Hari, the mind will become purified and subtle enough to chant Om and understand its glory. So that's why Hari Om. You had one question only, right? About Omkar, right? Okay, I'm going to come back to, yes, Srijataji. You had 2 questions remaining, I think, or 1 question.
No, Swamiji, 2 questions I have.
Go ahead.
The first one is, what is known as the cycle of progress?
What is known as cycle of progress? In what context?
I mean, it comes in the Gita, somewhere it had come.
The ladder of fall is there, which
Yes,
is
sir.
those 8 steps in the 2nd chapter of the Gita.
Yes, Swamiji.
Then in the, so they're not specifically like a cycle of progress, but in the 12th chapter, those 4 steps of bhakti are there. That, if you, so the simplest is learn to accept results as they come. If you can't do that, then learn to dedicate action. I mean, if you the highest level, from highest to lower, it will come. So then that is called a cycle of progress. So highest level is completely absorb the mind and intellect in me. Mayeva mana adarsva mai buddhim niveshaya. Now, if you can't completely surrender to Bhagwan, then it is said that do abhyasa yoga, that you chant the name of the Lord and continuously learn to do japa, remember the Lord. If that abhyasa yoga you cannot do, then mat karma paramo bhava. Then you dedicate actions unto me. If that also is difficult to do, then do this sarva karma phala tyagaha. You drop all insistence on the results and learn to accept the results as they come as prasad of Bhagwan. So if I have prasada buddhi, I dedicate actions to the Lord, I do the abhyasa yoga, and I surrender to the Lord. These are 4 steps in the progress. We can call this a cycle of progress.
Thank you, Swamiji. So, Swamiji, there is another one. That is, why does Lord Ganeshji like durba grass? He likes durba grass. So why do we offer him also?
Because he has an elephant head. And elephants will eat that. They are vegetarian. So they will eat.
They like durba grass to eat.
Yeah, durba grass is, it's not any special variety of grass. It is regular, normal grass. It is.
Yes, but it has 3 arms. It's a trident, as they say.
That way, that one can say, the shape wise. Yeah, but it's not some exotic variety. That's what I meant.
It's because
there is some legend associated with it, then I am not aware of it. There may be some story in Purana associated with it, why he likes it.
Okay.
But,
okay. Thank Hari Om Swamiji. Thank you. Pranam Swamiji.
Shishirji.
Hari Om Swamiji. I'm cognizant of the time, so I'll just check with you first before we go ahead with this. So again, this was related to an AVC question which Shubhangi ji had asked earlier. But a few of us were a bit confused in terms of how we are identifying the various koshas, because they seem to be falling between a multiple of them. And I think while we were sort of going through this evaluation and going through that, most of us I think got it incorrect. Because we were putting it in one or the other koshas and it could be actually multiple koshas. Just wanted to understand without taking too much time, instead of going to each one, is there anything specifically that we need to keep in mind other than the evaluation, which is fine, whatever the answers may be?
See, certain koshas alone, there is an overlap. Certain koshas are very clear.
Correct.
Annamaya kosha is the food sheath.
Correct.
Now Pranamaya kosha is 5 pranas. Now, some places there is an overlap here because if people add in Pranamaya kosha the senses of action also. But the senses of knowledge, the mind, intellect, memory, ego, and senses of action, they come in the Manomaya kosha, and then senses of knowledge and the buddhi specifically, that will come in the Vijnanamaya kosha. So again, I'm making a mistake. So mind plus this senses of action will come in the Manomaya kosha, and my intellect plus this senses of knowledge will come in the Vijnanamaya kosha. There's an overlap of the senses, knowledge and action, but here there is mind and here there is intellect. So there one overlap will be there. And then there will be in Anandamaya kosha this Priya, Moda and Pramoda, which because it is experienceable in the waking state, obviously all the koshas are involved in that. But as a concept, because it is more connected to the mind, so then we may say this Anandamaya kosha is as though it is also, the mind is also going through that. There seems to be an overlap, but technically it is only Anandamaya kosha. Though the body, so if somebody eats an ice cream, now we can't say that Pramoda is Annamaya kosha, because ice cream is eating with the body, pranas are functioning, In the mind is feeling the joy, and the intellect there is a satisfaction that desire has got fulfilled. We can't put them in all the 4 koshas. It will actually be only in the Anandamaya kosha as a concept to understand. And the overlap is because there is an expression of this Priyamoda and Pramoda in the waking state. So then one says all the koshas are involved, so now where is it? But technically it will go only in Anandamaya kosha. If it is Bhoktritva, then it will go specifically in Vijnanamaya kosha. Kartritva, it will go specifically in Vijnanamaya kosha. Though the body is also being used to do an action. Karta bhav is there, then I'm doing action with the body, pranas are being used, mind is being used. But specifically it will only be Vijnanamaya kosha. So that is how one has to understand. There can be overlap in the way in which it is, the equipment is functioning. But we have to have the clarity that in which kosha it will fall under. Am I clear on that?
Yes, Swamiji. Just one more follow-up question to it. So we had observed that something seemingly which is an egocentric reaction to something also is falling under Manomaya kosha, and indecisiveness is falling under Vijnanamaya kosha, which typically we would associate indecisiveness, or it said about the career, it said it's Vijnanamaya kosha, but typically our learning is that if anything indecisive is to do with the mind.
It is with mind only. Does it say in the question, or does it say in the course material?
Actually, while solving it has appeared in as Vijnanamaya kosha as one of the answers, as Vijnanamaya kosha. So it was a bit confusing for us.
So no, there may be a mistake in the answer evaluation, but
right.
No, decisiveness is a Manomaya kosha only. It's not Vijnanamaya kosha.
Right.
Because mind is in, buddhi is decisive, so that is a clear distinction.
Right. Okay, all right, Swamiji. Thank you so much. Hari Om.
Okay, last question.
Hari Om Swamiji. I have 2 questions which are interrelated. First question is, Swamiji, when does the soul enter the womb of a mother in the fetus? Which month, or is it at inception?
It is not at inception. You can check in the Garbhopanishad. They say in some specific month, or it enters 6th week or something like that, it will be said. I don't remember exactly the time. Maybe it is 6th week, or maybe it is 3 months. I am not very sure. You have to check in Garbhopanishad.
Okay. And Swamiji, second question is, as far as I have understood, the samskaras or the vasanas and the thought uppermost in the soul at the time of death brings the same soul back in another body, another time. So Swamiji, so that we don't get trapped in the repeated cycles of births and deaths and we attain moksha, it is important for us to realize what is the thought, what was it that brought us into the current life in this birth. Swamiji, have you come to know what it has that has brought you in this life? But we should think about it, no, Swamiji, so that we attain moksha. We don't get trapped into another birth again.
How does it matter which thought has brought me here? I am grateful that I am here under Gurudev's grace, and the objective is to drop body identification. I am not bothered about next life at all. Why next life? Moksha is here and now. Brahman is our true nature. Just contemplate upon that. Rest Bhagavan will take care, whatever has to happen. Our job is to remember our true nature. That's it. Keep abiding in that. Why should I bother which thought brought me here? It doesn't make a difference to me at all. We have to only do sadhana right now, in this moment. Past is anyway dead and gone. From that, if I can learn something great, and I don't find a need to go back into that past to find out what was the last thought of previous birth, because Vedanta doesn't believe in this birth. Where's the question of previous birth and next birth? It has a certain relevance from law of karma standpoint. But as we study more and more Vedanta, then we understand that this whole life itself, this body itself is illusory. This jiva bhav is illusory. This world is illusory. Now, why bother about from where it came, what was the previous life, how many lives I have had, and what will be my next life? Not necessary.
But
So I
Buddha did all that, no? Gautam Buddha.
maybe Buddha wanted to do that for some other reasons. I have no idea. But not necessary that what Buddha did, everybody has to do. Gurudev
Yes.
didn't do that. Tapan Maharaj didn't do that. They didn't find out what was their last life, the last thought which made them come here. Not necessary. Best is focus on this moment, here and now, and be aware that I am consciousness. That's about it. Usse zyada nothing else to do. One can do sadhana in terms of japa and other things, which will be bringing us to the same point, to realize the nature of consciousness.
Yes, Swamiji. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.